Have you ever noticed that the very moment you stop worrying, things seem to fall into place almost magically? A conversation flows better, your creativity awakens, or an unexpected solution appears. Yet paradoxically, the harder you try to control everything, the more anxious, tense, and restless you become, the further peace and clarity slip from your grasp. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, understood this paradox deeply. He believed that worry is not a sign of strength or preparation, but a defense mechanism of the ego, a false attempt to feel secure in a world that will never be fully controllable. Jung suggested that by loosening our grip and learning to trust the deeper intelligence of life, we can not only reduce anxiety, but also open ourselves to authentic freedom and inner harmony. This is not about blind optimism or ignoring responsibility. Instead, it is about transforming our relationship with uncertainty, with ourselves, and with the hidden parts of the psyche that create unnecessary suffering. In this essay, we'll explore Jung's view on worry, letting go, and how life begins to arrange itself in surprising ways when we release control. 1. Worry, the ego's clever trap. Worry often feels productive. It makes us believe we are preparing, planning, or protecting ourselves from future disaster. But Jung saw it differently. Worry is the ego's way of pretending to be in charge, while in truth, it creates more chaos than order. Think about it. You lie in bed at night, your body's safe under the covers, but your mind spins. What if I fail tomorrow's meeting? What if I never find love? What if things collapse? The body is at rest, but the imagination is in turmoil. Worry is like running endlessly on a treadmill. You exert effort, you feel exhausted, yet you never move forward. Jung compared worry to a mask that hides deeper truths. Instead of facing the uncertainty of life directly, the ego generates endless what-ifs to distract us. It's like a fire alarm that never stops ringing, even when there's no fire. Over time, this constant noise drowns out intuition, silence, and the natural wisdom of the self. He once said, "Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering." In this light, worry is a mild neurosis. It doesn't solve problems. It only covers up the real work we must do, which is to face our fears honestly and meet life as it is. 2. The essence of letting go. Awakening, not laziness. If worry is the ego's false effort, what is the alternative? Jung's answer: letting go. But here we must be careful. Letting go is not the same as giving up or being lazy. It is an active form of awakening. Imagine a swimmer caught in a whirlpool. The more they panic and thrash around, the deeper they sink. But when they stop resisting, their body floats. This is the essence of letting go. It is not about abandoning responsibility, but about releasing the useless struggle against forces we cannot control. Modern culture often confuses letting go with weakness. We are taught to hustle, to control, to compete endlessly, to rest, to trust, to flow with life seems suspicious, as if it means you lack ambition. Yet Jung reminds us that letting go is not stagnation. It is a state of awareness and clarity, where actions come from presence rather than panic. Artists often describe their greatest creations not as results of effort, but as gifts received in moments of openness. Paul McCartney, for example, dreamt the melody of yesterday instead of forcing it through hours of struggle. Creativity and insight often arise when the ego loosens its grip. To let go, then, is to align with life's natural rhythm. It is like releasing an arrow from a bow. If you keep holding on, the arrow never flies. But once released, it follows its inner energy and reaches its mark. 3. The root cause of worry. Identification with images. Why do we worry so much in the first place? According to Jung, the deepest cause is identification with expectations and images. We confuse who we are with the roles we play: the successful worker, the perfect mother, the admired friend, the chosen lover. This identification creates fragility. If your entire worth depends on your career, one failure feels catastrophic. If you believe your identity is tied to being loved, any doubt in a relationship feels like the end of the world. Worry thrives in this gap between reality and the perfect image we try to protect. Jung called these roles the persona. the mask we wear to function in society. The persona is useful, but the danger is forgetting that it's only a mask. When we fully identify with it, any crack feels like a threat to our existence. This is why criticism, rejection, or small failures can cause sleepless nights. They don't just hurt the ego, they shake the illusion of who we think we are. The truth is, life rarely fits the ego's script. When we cling to rigid expectations, I must succeed, I must be loved, I must always appear strong, reality inevitably disappoints us. Worry, then, is the constant effort to defend the fragile crystal vase of our self-image. But the more tightly we hold it, the more exhausting life becomes. 4. Transformation, from worry to inner freedom. Jung did not suggest that we simply stop worrying overnight. Transformation is a process, a journey from anxiety to freedom. He described it in 3 steps. Step 1, recognition. Instead of suppressing worry, we must observe it as a psychological phenomenon. Like watching a storm from under a shelter, we begin to see that worry is not the whole sky, just passing weather. This detachment allows us to stop confusing worry with reality. Step 2, confrontation. This step is the most challenging. It means facing the emotions that worry hides. Fear of abandonment, fear of failure, fear of being unworthy. Jung reminded us, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. To grow, we must be willing to sit with discomfort rather than run from it. Step 3, release. Once we have recognized and confronted worry, its trapped energy is released. What was once consumed by anxiety becomes available for creativity, love, and authentic living. Instead of clinging to others for validation, we learn to love freely. Instead of obsessing over success, we rediscover the joy of creation. This process is not instant. It's like a caterpillar in a cocoon. At first, it feels like suffocation, but if we endure, transformation takes place. Eventually, wings unfold. Worry in this sense is not our enemy, but a doorway, a teacher pointing to the inner work we must do. 5. The paradox. Life organizes itself when you let go. The most mysterious insight Jung offered is this. When we stop worrying, life seems to arrange itself in surprising ways. This doesn't mean everything turns out exactly as we want. It means things fall into place as they are meant to. Think of a garden. If you pull at a young plant to make it grow faster, you damage it. But if you water it, give it sunlight, and trust the process, it flourishes naturally. Life follows the same principle. Worry is like tugging at the plant. Letting go is like nurturing and trusting. Jung called this deeper order the self, the center of our being that transcends the small ego. When the ego dominates, everything looks chaotic because it demands control. But when the ego steps back, the self emerges and reveals an invisible order. Events align, opportunities arise, and flow becomes possible. You may have experienced this in moments of flow, an athlete who stops overthinking and suddenly performs at their best, or a student who relaxes before an exam and finds memory flowing effortlessly. Anxiety blocks our natural intelligence, while trust and presence allow it to shine. A letting go is not passivity. It's rowing with the river rather than against it. The river still requires effort, awareness, and presence, but it carries us farther than force ever could. 6. Trusting the rhythm of life. In the end, Jung's teaching comes down to trust. The ego believes life must be bent to its will. The self knows life already has a rhythm, a flow, and intelligence. Worry is the attempt to steer the river with an imaginary wheel. Letting go is realizing that the river flows regardless, and that if we relax, it carries us exactly where we need to be. This doesn't mean life becomes free of pain or challenge, but it does mean that worry no longer dominates us. Anxiety becomes a passing guest instead of a permanent jailer. We stop racing against life and begin to live with it, in the rhythm of rivers, forests, and skies. The final question Jung invites us to ask is not, how do I stop worrying? But rather, am I brave enough to trust life itself? If the answer is yes, then the very moment you release control, a new space opens. A space where life is no longer a burden to be managed, but a journey to be experienced fully. Conclusion. Carl Jung's insight is both simple and profound. Worry is not strength, but the ego's disguise. Letting go is not weakness, but awakening. The path to inner freedom begins when we recognize worry, confront our hidden fears, and release the illusions of control. When we do, life does not suddenly become perfect, but it becomes real, authentic, and strangely ordered in its own way. Like a calm lake reflecting the sky, our mind reveals truths that were always there, waiting beneath the ripples of anxiety. So the next time you catch yourself worrying, remember Jung's wisdom. Everything does not fall into place because you forced it. It falls into place because you trusted life enough to let it.